These are the first pair of AirPods I'm not really going to recommend to anyone. I'm sorry, but I think this was a bit of a swing and a miss for Apple, and there's a lot of things that confuse me, and it's very unfortunate because there's a lot of things I like about AirPods Max, but once again, not an audiophile, but I am a professional Apple sheep, so I'm comfortable reviewing Apple products and giving you my feedback on those, but without further ado, here's why you probably shouldn't buy AirPods Max. Let's begin. Alright, so since the ending of this video has probably already been spoiled by the fact that I'm not recommending them, I should probably start out with the things I actually like first, which is, for one, audio quality is fantastic. Again, I don't have a whole lot of references between the Bose 700s or the XM4s. I don't use those on the regular. I've briefly tried them on in the past and been very impressed, and similar to being impressed with those headphones, I was very impressed with AirPods Max, as you guys probably remember in the unboxing. Tried them on, they sound great, they sound incredible, and also I think they're very comfortable. This is probably a very subjective thing because it depends on the way your head is shaped and how your hair acts, and it's gonna change person to person, but if you're just asking a ginger like me with a big head, how do these feel? I think they feel great, and there have been times when I've been using them for video editing, I've been using them to watch videos after work, I've been using them for basically hours and hours at a time, and they have never gotten uncomfortable. They have never gotten to the point where it starts to feel a little bit sore on the top of my head or my ears start to hurt a little bit, like I've had with older, cheaper headphones in the past, but Apple nailed the comfort levels in my opinion. These feel very, very nice on the noggin, and the other great thing about them is the active noise cancellation and the transparency mode, which I'm using right now as I'm recording this, and like I said in my initial unboxings and impressions, like, the transparency mode is shockingly good. Like, I honestly thought it started to sound a little bit better than reality for some reason, and that's thanks to the 9 microphone array. Yeah, 9 microphones across this thing that's able to accurately do its best to take its environment sounds and recreate them to the point that, other than, yeah, the slight pressure you feel on the side of your head, it almost sounds like you're not wearing headphones at all. And if you go into Control Center and turn them off, you'll start to be even more impressed by transparency mode because these, unlike typical AirPods, actually provide quite a bit of active and passive noise cancellation technology. So they actually block out quite a bit of sound even before you turn on active noise cancellation, which for sure works really, really great as is. And sadly, we're not flying or going on planes as much as we used to, so I've not been able to experiment with these on a plane or been operating that much loud machinery, but I can confidently say I'm sure these probably work really, really well in those types of environments, and if you're planning on owning these for the long haul, I bet they'll work great for that. But sadly, this is probably where my list of nice things to say about them end, because frankly, I think Apple is used to setting the standards in a lot of industries, and a lot of us Apple sheep, including myself, will suddenly see Apple price something a certain way and people just start to expect, okay, that's the default price. Like when the iPhone X came out, it was really expensive at $1,000, but after a while people just got very comfortable with the idea of spending $1,000 on a phone, and a few years later, you know, Samsung's starting the lineup at $1,000, and then for other options charging $1,200, $1,400, and if you want it to fold, it's $2,000, and people kind of get comfortable with that. And maybe it's because I'm not just a huge fan of over-ear headphones anyway, but I don't think I'm comfortable with the standard of these types of wireless headphones, the type that you just use with your iPhone and your iPad. You can use them with your Mac, but as soon as you do any type of audio editing or video editing, there's obviously going to be a little bit of latency. I don't mind it too much. I've been using it with Final Cut, but Apple has made it clear through the marketing and on the website that these were not really designed for productivity. They were not really built for producing content. They were primarily designed for consuming content, primarily Apple Music and Apple TV Plus. Between the spatial audio feature, which I find pretty gimmicky because it's like, hey, surround sound when I move my head like this, but most of the time I'm watching a movie, I'm not moving my head like this, and I don't need it to sound like it's coming from that device. And the surround sound thing is cool, don't get me wrong, I enjoy that, but not much of a headphones while watching movies and TV shows kind of guy. Normally I just want to watch it on the big screen, and to put it simply, I just don't really think they justify $550, especially with the number of compromises you have to put up with. I think this video could have been very, very different if Apple priced AirPods Max at $399, which I still think is very expensive. You know, other premium over-ear headphones like the XM4s, the Bose 700s, even cheaper ones like the Surface headphones too, I thought were really great. I reviewed them and I had pretty much nothing but nice things to say about them. Those also offer really great noise cancellation and really great sound quality, and they don't come come with this hunk of trash, which it's honestly quite incredible how bad this case really is. For one, it's not a case, it looks like packaging, and the material they chose is the same type of silicone that they use with the iPad Pro Magic Keyboard, so I can already tell you this is not going to age super well. It's going to show oils and smudges and fingerprints and stains over time. It's not protective at all. For one, it has these giant gaps at the bottom. I have no clue what these giant gaps are for, that leave the aluminum of your headphones exposed anyway, so it's not even protecting all of the aluminum. The top of the headphones also are quite exposed between the buttons and the digital crown. I don't know why you need those exposed when they're in the case, and it would be one thing if you could just completely throw out this case and just decide, well, just don't use the included case and just wear them like this. But the thing is, this is how you turn them off, because Apple did not put an on and off switch on these things, which, yeah, there's no on and off switch on typical AirPods, but they have a very small portable charge case, which is genius, to be honest with you. I love the original AirPods, and I'm still a diehard fan of the traditional earbud design. No, the audio quality is not going to be great, but the fact is, it's small, it's pocketable, and it protects them, and when you're not using them, they're charging. So it feels very efficient and intelligently designed, whereas this is like, okay, we made a crappy case that's not very protective, and it doesn't charge the headphones, it just turns them off, because you can't turn them off otherwise. You can't even do like a hold both buttons down or something to turn them off. You can factory reset them that way, but as long as they're not in this thing, they're gonna be on and draining battery. And Apple stated later, I'm sure a lot of you guys are already commenting this, that actually leaving the headphones out of the case doesn't drain them that quickly, so it's not that big a deal, in which case I would say this is even more pointless. Okay, so turning them off doesn't even save that much battery, so your ultra low power mode you talked about is kind of meaningless, and now it means that your battery life is pretty much always going to be draining unless you plan on using this hunk of trash, which for $550, battery life is not fantastic. I would say, yeah, I'm experiencing what others were talking about between the 16 to 20 hours of usage, and compared to other headphones which are much cheaper, you can typically get a little bit better battery life than that, especially out of the Sonys, and to get equal battery life out of headphones that are $200 cheaper is just kind of a big slap in the face. And the charging method, oh my god, Apple, you guys probably don't realize how bad it is to just have Lightning and nothing else, because this is the single most expensive device Apple sells that only uses Lightning and no other charge method. Even as a big Apple sheep here, even as a guy who bought MagSafe Duo and loves my Apple Watch and loves my iPhone 12 mini and uses my iPad Pro and uses my iMac Pro, I've spent a stupid amount of money on Apple products, and I find these annoying because at night I charge my iPhone with MagSafe, at my desk I charge it with MagSafe, with my Apple Watch I've got the little charge puck in MagSafe Duo so I can inductively just drop my phone whenever I need it to, drop my watch on its little nightstand when I need it to, and with my iPad Pro I use USB-C, and the iMac Pro obviously has its own power supply, which means that just for this single pair of headphones I have to keep a lightning cable readily accessible that I didn't have to keep around before, which I find pretty annoying, because with everything else it's either inductive or USB-C. I can choose between a wireless option, like with my older AirPods or AirPods Pro. I can drop those on MagSafe and let them charge because they support Qi. These don't support MagSafe or Qi or anything because Apple wanted to have a complete, metal cup on the side. I don't understand why they had to be metal. For one, it adds a lot to the weight, so if you plan on using these while running or moving around or using Fitness Plus, they're gonna want to fall off your head. They feel very, very top heavy. They're comfortable and fine when you're sitting upright and not moving your head around a lot, that's fine. But as soon as you start moving around a little bit, you can very noticeably tell they want to fall off. They're very heavy because of that metal design, which gives it a more premium feel. But I thought AirPods Pro were pretty premium. Those are made of plastic, right? If they made these out of plastic cups, you can make the stem steel, I get that. But these giant cups on the side, if these were plastic, you could at least have a little MagSafe support, or maybe have a fully protective case that has MagSafe incorporated into it, so that once you fold up AirPods Max and put them in the case, then they start inductively charging, then it would actually be like AirPods, because that's what those do, right? You just drop them in the case, they start charging. It's that simple. These are being pitched as these great wireless headphones, but you have to always charge them with a wire. There's no inductive method, there's no charge stand, at least right now. Maybe they're working on one, but I would just appreciate something. I don't know how expensive it has to be, but just some method of charging that doesn't involve me grabbing a wire, because that's what I'm used to with AirPods, my phone, my watch. And if I am going to use a wire, I would much rather it be USB-C, because that's more versatile. It'll work with other MacBooks if you have those, but having to keep around a lightning cable just for these headphones, I find kind of annoying. annoying. It was also a huge missed opportunity that the Lightning to USB-C cable they include with these headphones does not support USB audio, which I think is a huge missed opportunity. Apple, come on. How simple would it have been if you were just like, okay, the charge cable we ship with these headphones, you can plug the other end of that cable into your MacBook, into your iPad, and boom, you've got a wired connection and you can use them for Logic or Final Cut or whatever you want to edit. But they don't do that. They only support charging, which means to actually use these things wired, you have to buy that $35 cable. And I'm sorry, when you're charging $550 for headphones, I don't care how nice they sound. I don't care what the materials are made of. They should come with that type of accessory, in my opinion, because I'm going to go back to the beginning and just reiterate, I still think $399 is expensive. I find that a luxurious segment. I find that a premium price tag for wireless headphones. If we're talking about, production headphones, reference monitors, and that kind of thing, things that are designed for producing audio and you need that real-time, low latency feedback and type of thing, sure, then I can expect going for $600, $800, or $2,000, but that's not what these are. Like many have pointed out, they're about the consumption experience. They're not about producing content, although I feel like it would have been so much more interesting or more debatable if Apple would make something that was a little bit of both, right? Like, I wouldn't even be that mad if Apple decided to make a $600 or $800 pair of over-ears, but pitched them as more of a Mac accessory that also could do the wireless listening experience like your iPhone or your iPad for watching movies and listening to music. Like, imagine if Apple made something that had the reference grade quality and had maybe open back or customizable design or something that could be used for making music with Logic and having low latency and including the cable and all that. But at the same time, if you wanted to detach the cable and turn it into something that could compete or compare to the XM4s or the Bose 700s, very comfortable, very good for Apple Music playback, but at the same time, being able to plug into a preamp or an equalizer and configure them to your liking for audio editing, if they made something that was more versatile, that could be both, I feel like there's an argument there that could justify the higher price. Similar to how people try to justify the Pro Display XDR, saying it's not really overpriced because it's on par with $40,000 reference monitors. If they made that more of a pitch, I could almost get behind it, and I wouldn't buy them and use them myself, but I could be like, okay, the price is justified because they're being built to be, used as a tool, not just an accessory, and these will save you money because now you don't have to buy Bose Quiet Comforts and your studio grade reference monitors. But that's not what they did here. Because of the included accessories and because of the way it's being marketed and the fact that it doesn't really support USB audio or much customization for the audio quality industry, we have to compare them to the Sonys, the Boses, and the Surface headphones of the world, and there are a few advantages, yeah, I admit. I mean, the build quality is nice, though I do think it has a few drawbacks, like whenever you take the headphones out of the case, they clink together in this scraping of metal that just naturally happens whenever you're interacting with these headphones. It just sounds awful. Like, durability wise, I do not have a lot of faith that these are going to hold up well. The fabric mesh not being protected is not great, and the fact that the lightning port does not even align with the smart case they ship with this thing, and I really just don't understand, like, how hard would it have been to just have a little switch for off and on? That would have been so simple. And I do love the digital crown. I will say that compared to touch panels like you have on other headphones, digital crown's pretty great. It's bigger than the crown on the Apple Watch, and it does adjust the volume pretty easily. So at first I thought it might have made more sense to have it on the side so you can use the entire length of your finger, but just kind of inching with the top is enough, and it looks cleaner this way anyway. Aesthetics wise, I think they look pretty great too. I mean, if we're just talking about fashion and design trends, yeah, I think they look pretty nice, and they're probably a lot more welcoming than the original AirPods were when they first launched, and everyone said they look stupid. Some people might think these look stupid, but it's all very subjective. I think they look nice, and honestly, I think I could have recommended them to a lot of people if they were around $399, maybe even $449. I could have swung. I would have been like, yeah, these are kind of pricey, but for what you're getting, I would say it's kind of justified. But at $550, I'm sorry, it's just $100 worse than my worst case scenario when I was envisioning Apple making their own over-ears, and I was not envisioning them making so many compromises between the case and the charging method, and also not really building them to be a Mac productivity accessory, which would have been much more easy to justify the price. And for those reasons, I can't recommend them, despite them sounding good and having some good quality features. It's a real shame, honestly. I feel like Apple was really close here to making something cool, but instead they just turned it into this luxury segment that everyone's gonna justify by saying, well, that's what you pay for the best. And I think there's a lot of people out there that are just gonna try to say that the audio quality is miles better than anything else out there, even though they probably can't tell the difference, just so that they can actually justify the purchase. But hey, something I didn't bring up when I said I wouldn't recommend the 12 Pro that I will bring up in this video, because I'm not recommending the AirPods Max to anyone, is I'm telling you all these things as someone who's curious about my opinion, okay? My job as a YouTuber is not to validify and verify that you made the right purchase for yourself, okay? That's for you guys to figure out, and if you think AirPods Max are good for you and they justify the price, I'm happy for you. And I'm not gonna tell you you made the wrong decision, because I'm in favor of people buying whatever they want. But if you're on the fence and you haven't decided and you're thinking about AirPods Max, and now you're asking my opinion and saying, hey Drew, should I get them based on your experience? I'm gonna say no, okay? And I hope that's how you guys can understand it. I don't want a bunch of people thinking that, oh, Drew hates me because I like my headphones. No, it's just buy whatever you want. But if you're undecided, I'm gonna tell you don't do it. Only people who should be doing it are those who don't need other people's opinion, because they've come up to a decision. They don't need verification. They know what they're doing. And with all of that, I didn't even bring up that mine are defective. Yeah, I'm getting a popping, scraping, and wind noise sound on just the right pair, and I've talked with Apple support. It definitely sounds like a hardware defect, because I'm experiencing it with noise cancellation, with transparency mode, and while listening to music and stuff. I've had this problem with my iPad, my iPhone, and my Mac, so I'm pretty sure it's not a firmware thing. So yes, I'll be returning them. I'm not keeping them, and I was even debating selling them to people because they're so hard to find, but after I noticed the defect and it's getting worse and worse and quite annoying, probably doesn't make sense to sell them to somebody else. And I wasn't planning on scalping, by the way. I wasn't gonna sell them at an increased price. People who do that are mean jerks. Don't do that, people. And I was just thinking that, you know, a lot of people before the holidays might be trying to get their hands on one, so maybe I should sell them at a discounted price to someone, but I don't want to sell people broken headphones. So yeah, they're going back to Apple. Thankfully, I don't see that many people experiencing the same issues as me, but in conclusion, I don't think you should buy AirPods Max. Too expensive, too many compromises, not useful enough. Go with a nice pair of Sony's Bose Surface headphones. I've tried them in the past and they sound pretty great to me. I don't think these sound $200 or $150 better, and the case doesn't make it any better, and they're not going to be perfect for using them with Logic and Final Cut and that kind of thing. So just wait for the next gen. Hopefully they get cheaper. This is your Alp Sheep here. I'll see you guys in the next one.